Hello my dear students, welcome to the new chapter, that is anti-ulcer. In the last lecture we have seen the H1 receptor blocker and this H2 receptor blocker, they are mainly used in ulcer. So I told you in the last lecture that histamine, it is mainly released from two kinds of the cell. One is mast cell, which is located in respiratory tract as well as in the skin, and secondly it is also released from the enterochromaffin cell, and this enterochromaffin cell is located into the stomach. So in detail we'll be seeing that how we can block the H2 receptor, by which we can resolve the problem of ulcer. So first of all, I would like to introduce to you that what is ulcer. Ulcer means damage. In simple language I can say that damage to the mucous layer. You know that whole GIT from a mouth to the whole inside the GIT, whether it is a stomach, intestine, large intestine, it is fully covered with a mucous membrane. Now if somebody want to understand what is mucous membrane, so just put a finger inside your mouth, and whatever the coating which you can feel with your finger inside your mouth is mucous layer. So likewise whole GIT is coated with mucus layer. So when somebody is taking some spicy food, or because of many reasons or responsible for that one, that results into the increase in acidity, and that acidity or SCL, I can say that it damages to the mucus layer. Okay, here you can see that, and this damage of mucus layer result into the ulcer, isn't it? In a simple language I can say that ulcer is nothing but it is erosion of a mucus layer, you can see here. And then if you are taking any kind of food, then that food is touching to this damaged mucus layer, and that is causing irritation, or that is causing a pain. So such kind of people, they don't take any kind of food later, if once they suffered, or once the ulcers start in their stomach. So this ulcer, it could be seen into the stomach as well as into the a small intestine. This is the upper part of small intestine is called as a duodenum. So it could be seen into the stomach as well as it could be seen into the duodenum. So this damage of mucus layer is known as ulcer. And in this chapter we'll be seeing that what kind of medicines or what kind of drug which can resolve this problem. So as I told you that parietal cell is mainly responsible for the release of SCL, and this SCL is damaging the mucus layer. So being a medicinal chemist, it is our role to block the excess secretion of SCL. I'm repeating word excess secretion. Okay, actually you should not stop the SCL secretion, otherwise there will be problem into the food digestion, isn't it? Okay. So to understand the whole basic of this chapter, first we need to understand that pathophysiology of parietal cell. You know very well that parietal cell, they are mainly responsible for the secretion of SCL, and parietal cells, they are located into the stomach. Okay, here I am showing that. Just imagine that parietal cells are located over here and they are releasing the SCL. So first of all we'll study the pathophysiology, or I can say that how parietal cell works and how they're responsible for the SCL secretion. So this is a parietal cell, and assume that this parietal cell is located on the stomach wall. Okay, and imagine that, or assume that you ate the food. Okay, and after that one, what happened, that is food goes inside your stomach, and this food stimulates two things. First, it stimulates G cell, okay, which is located in the stomach. Okay, and as well as this food gives signal to the brain, and brain later via vagus nerve, it releases the acetylcholine. Now because of food, two changes has occurred. The first is a gastrin's G cell is getting activated, as well as via vagus nerve acetylcholine has been released into the stomach. Now G cell releases the gastrin, and this gastrin as well as acetylcholine both activates the enterochromaffin cell. Okay, and via gastrin receptor, gastrin is binding to the enterochromaffin cell, and via muscarinic receptor, acetylcholine is binding to the enterochromaffin cell, and both activates the enterochromaffin cell, and that results into the release of histamine. Now this histamine, it binds to the parietal cell, and binding of histamine to the parietal cell via H2 receptor. Here you can see that histamine is binding to the parietal cell via H2 receptor. This causes a conversion of ATP to cyclic AMP via adenyl cyclase enzyme. Then the cyclic AMP activates the protein kinase, and protein kinase activates another enzyme. This is known as a proton potassium ATPase enzyme. And in other language, I can say that this enzyme pumps the potassium outside. Okay, and hence this enzyme is also known as proton pump. Okay, so this protein kinase, which is activated by H2 receptor, it further acts as proton pump, and that result into the pumping of protons, and then H plus combined with Cl minus, and in this way SCl is secreted, and this SCl then enters into the lumen of stomach. Okay, so this is one pathway which I showed you, which I shown you that that resulted into the release of SCl. Okay, now what are the other pathway? This acetylcholine along with the binding with the enterochromaffin cell, it also directly binds with M3 receptor, muscarinic 3 receptor, which are located on the parietal cell, and binding of acetylcholine to the muscarinic 3 receptor allows calcium to come inside the parietal cell, and this calcium also activates the protein kinase. So I can say that acetylcholine directly as well as indirectly. Here via enterochromaffin, I can say that indirectly, and directly means how it is by binding with muscarinic 3 receptor, it directly activating the protein kinase, and protein kinase further activates the proton pump, and proton pump pushes the H plus ion. Here you can see that. So in this way, acetylcholine directly and indirectly promote the protein kinase, and protein kinase further activates the proton pump. Now what are another mechanisms? So here you can see that this gastrin, which is also acting directly and indirectly. Indirectly, it has activated the enterochromaffin cell via gastrin receptor, isn't it? And directly, how it is acting? It is also binding with gastrin receptor, which are located onto the on the surface of on the surface of enterochromaffin cell. Okay, parietal cell. This is a parietal cell. Okay, and binding of gastrin to the GR receptor, gastrin receptor, allows calcium to come inside, and this calcium activates protein kinase, and protein kinase activates the proton pump. So in this way, this gastrin acetylcholine acts directly as well as indirectly, and they promote the release of H plus ion. On the other hand, another important thing is that which is inhibiting the SCl secretion is a prostaglandin. Prostaglandin is also synthesized. You have seen that in NSAID they block the prostaglandin synthesis. So here specifically in stomach, this prostaglandin is synthesized by COX-1. Okay, and COX-1 synthesizes prostaglandin, and prostaglandin is having exactly opposite effect. Okay, how it inhibits the gastrin cell, G cell, by which gastrin will not release. It also inhibits the adenyl cyclase enzyme. If adenyl cyclase is getting inactivated, of course protein kinase will not be there, and there will not be a pumping of proton. So I can say that prostaglandin, it controls the release of SCl, isn't it? Okay, and that's why you have seen that most of people, those who are taking NSAID, it blocks COX-1. COX-1 means over here in parietal cell, and COX-2 means at damaged cell. I told you that at damaged cell only COX-2 is involved for the production of prostaglandin, and in parietal cell especially prostaglandin is produced from COX-1. So non-selective NSAID like aspirin, it inhibits COX-1 as well as COX-2, and inhibition of COX-1. Okay, here you can see that if COX-1 is inhibited, there will not be prostaglandin, and if there is not a prostaglandin, then what happens that there will be overfiring of this adenine cyclase will not be getting inhibited, as well as this D cell is also not getting inactivated, and that result into the over secretion of SCL. Okay, so if I want to block then over secretion of SCL, because you know very well that I discussed with you that over secretion of SCL is responsible for the ulceration. So how we can block? So I can say that the first target is that H2 receptor blocker. If I'm blocking H2 receptor, the whole process will stop. Okay, and second thing is that if I'm blocking M3 receptor, okay, then whole process will block. The third thing is that if I'm blocking this proton pump, so the whole process will stop, isn't it? Okay, so I'll discuss this all thing with you, that how we can block the acid secretion. So first first thing is that this animation which shows that how SCL secretion take place. So I told you that whenever you took the food stimulated the G cell. G cell is a gastrin. Gastrin binds with the gastrin receptor, and that resulted into the entry of calcium, and calcium activates the protein kinase. Protein kinase activates the proton pump, and that resulted into the release of SCL. The second mechanism which I discussed with you is histamine, and you know that this histamine is released from enterochromaffin, and enterochromaffin cell is activated by acetylcholine. Okay, and binding of acetylcholine to the enterochromaffin releases histamine. Histamine binds to the H2 receptor. H2 receptor converts ATP into cyclic AMP. Cyclic AMP activates protein kinase. Protein kinase activates proton pump, and proton pump pushes the H plus outside the cell. Okay. The third mechanism which we have seen is that this is inhibitory prostaglandin. I told you that prostaglandin is having inhibitory effect. Okay, so prostaglandin inhibits the adenyl cyclase. Okay, and if adenyl cyclase is inhibited, so there will not be SCL secretion. Okay, so I told you that this prostaglandin is having a exactly opposite effect. It minimizes the SCL secretion. And third thing which we have seen, that acetylcholine directly also act on the M3 receptor, and binding with muscarinic 3 receptor, that results into entry of calcium inside the parietal cell, and this calcium activates protein kinase, and protein kinase further activates the proton pump, and proton pump releases the SCL. So in this way, this is three mechanism which helps in the SCL secretion. The first is a gastrin, second is a H2 receptor, third is a muscarinic receptor. And if you want to block the excess secretion of SCL, so we have to block the binding of gastrin to the gastrin receptor, binding of histamine to the histamine receptor, and binding of acetylcholine to the M3 receptor. And the fourth mechanism is that if you permanently block this, what I can say that if you one more mechanism directly blocks the proton pump, so the whole process will automatically stop. So in this way, this four mechanism. First is if you inhibit binding of gastrin to the gastrin receptor, first mechanism, it also it reduces the SCL secretion. Second, if you inhibit binding of histamine to the H2 receptor, so whole process will stop. And third thing is, if you block the binding of acetylcholine to the muscarinic receptor, then whole protein kinase will not be activated, and whole process will stop. And fourth is that inhibition of proton pump. So in this way, these four drugs. Okay, and the fourth thing is that if you are preparing the prostaglandin, if you are helping prostaglandin, so prostaglandin will inhibit the adenyl cyclase, and ultimately there will not be activation of protein kinase. So in this way, this four mechanism will lead to the less secretion of SCL. So in the next part, I will be seeing that how we can block this four pathways. So I hope that you understand this one. If you have any kind of problem, please write down in the comment box. I'll be helping you to understand the process. I'll be helping you to understand the whole pathway. Thank you.